Yo, what's up? It's Abortive, and today we have a 750 mg Dph Trip Report, so let's get it. The absolute worst experience of my life occurred this year. I was in absolute distress due to some issues that had continued with my longtime boyfriend. Anyway, these issues resulted in me taking 30 pills of Walgreens brand generic sleep aid, the active ingredient being diphenhydramine, 25 mg per pill. I remember taking them at around 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. I laid down and turned on the TV to watch Netflix. At about 1 a.m. my legs began to spasm and my body felt extremely heavy. I managed to knock out and fall asleep, or so I thought. I was completely unaware of the time, but the next thing I knew I was in a club talking to a female bartender. There were bright lights and very loud music, and I even recall dancing. Before I knew it, I looked at the bartender right in the face as she was giving me a strange look. I then realized this bartender was me. I was hallucinating the whole thing and looking at my own face in the mirror. I was talking to my reflection. Once I realized this, I was terrified, so I went to go speak to my grandmother. Only her and I live in the house. I sat on the bed and was speaking to her in what I thought was a normal manner. However, she does not speak any English and I was speaking to her in English. This left her very confused. She told me to go to sleep. I came back to my room and stared at the ceiling. I thought I had fallen asleep at this point. However, I remember getting up once again and going to check on my small brown Chihuahua dog. When I arrived to the laundry room, which is where he sleeps, I saw him laying there lifeless. I smelled flesh rotting and I saw many ants scattered across the floor and was convinced that my dog had gotten killed and eaten by ants. I was hysterical at this point, and I ran out of the room crying to my grandmother. She told me the dog was outside and asked me what I was on. I told her I didn't know, as I had honestly forgotten about taking the pills. I then reached for my phone. This is when all hell broke loose. I saw a text from my boyfriend that stated he was leaving me and staying in Austin. He was on a cruise at the time, and for some reason I decided to drive to his house. He never sent this text, I imagined it. Well, I ended up running to my car and my grandma stopped me before I was able to leave. I was convinced she had taken my keys, which triggered me to attempt to take them back. She kept telling me she didn't have my keys. This spectacle led to the neighbors calling the cops. A police officer, which embarrassingly turned out to be a family friend, arrived at my house and was questioning me. I imagined I was smoking a cigarette and was even making the motion of ashing it. This alarmed the police officer, as I was practicing many strange behaviors. I was speaking to people that weren't there. I was thinking that I was smoking when I wasn't, and I could not, for the life of me, get dressed. It became the most confusing task to me. To make things worse, I lost my glasses and my contacts. So during the whole thing I was completely blind. Mind you, I can barely see 5 inches past my nose. Well, I ended up in the hospital. They wanted to keep me there for a month because they believed I had schizophrenia. Even at the hospital I was hallucinating many horrible things. This lasted until the following day, when I finally convinced the doctor that I was fine and needed to go home. That's my story. The moral of this story is this drug is evil. I honestly felt as if I died and was living in hell. It was terrifying.